Welcome back. New pledges at this year's investment conference have seen President Cyril Ramaphosa surpass his target of 1.2 trillion rand set 5 years ago. Substantial pledges from corporate giants Vodacom, Anglo American and Heineken pushed the total value of investments since 2018 to a hefty 1.5 trillion rand. But investors have raised concerns about the crippling power crisis and safety in the country. eNCA'sDevan Murugan has more.
As was the case previously, the investors were here pledging their billions, but with the economy expected to barely grow this year, infrastructure problems and severe power cuts, one can forgive the more cynical views sometimes of this conference. The real value of the 1.5 trillion rands worth of pledges is whether they will translate into jobs and economic growth. Even the President's investment envoy says much more is needed.
Now, if you want to get the investment to GDP ratio from roughly 15% to roughly 30% where it needs to be in terms of the National Development Plan, that means another trillion rand of additional investment every year that is required. So this is a very big number, and that will only happen if private sector companies, because the government hasn't got money, fiscus is constrained, and that will only happen if private sector companies, local and foreign, are prepared to take big decisions, and they will only do that if they feel the environment is conducive to growth and is business friendly.
From Vodacom to Anglo American, government has secured the big numbers from dozens of investors. South African Breweries says its new 5.8 billion rand investment will go some way to create jobs.
It's been around expanding the capacity of our breweries both in Durban, in Prospecton, and Gqeberha, our brewery Ibayi. And why that's important is that growth in the business. When we grow as a business, we procure 95% of everything that goes into a beer locally. So from seed to sip, we buy local crops, local barley, local hops. We procure cans and bottles locally. And a growing SAB means a growing value chain.
But the country's crippling electricity and infrastructure woes are keeping the more long-term investments across sectors from the country. One mining company, Manar, who pledged R1 billion for expansions in Mpumalanga, says although the power cuts are holding it back, it's hopeful a remedy will be found soon.
We can't say we were not affected. We are affected, but if you are stuck with that, we won't be able to think forward. So we are saying if we can still make money under these conditions by running generators, then we invest. And that's the situation at the moment.
But ultimately, it's growth that investors want and fewer barriers that stifle it. Devan Murugan, Johannesburg.